So first tool I'm going to show you how to sharpen is this 3/4 inch chisel, and like I was saying earlier, it's really the easiest tool to learn how to grind and hone, because it's just the right size and really straightforward. I've got a 6-inch wheel, and I like 6-inch wheels as opposed to 8 only because it fits the tool rest better. When you get one of these Wolverine jigs on a 8-inch wheel, you get so low down on the wheel that your tool is too vertical for me to grind. I like the tool flatter whenever I'm grinding. And this chisel, I was just looking at it. I don't know who's been in my shop using that thing. Wish I could blame it on somebody, but I think it must have been me. Boy, it got hit awful hard. It's all nicked and chipped and everything, so just perfect for grinding. So what I need to do, so I'm going to grind this at 28 degrees or thereabout, and so take a magic marker and mark the bevel there so I can see where I'm going to hit. And as you can see, I'm hitting a little bit low there, so see if I can lower that just a little bit. And still a tad bit low. Now that's hitting right smack dab in the center, and that's where I want to be, because I originally had this ground at 28 degrees. So like I showed you before, when I trued the stone, I crowned it. So the only thing that's really cutting is right in the middle, and that gives me a lot of leeway on holding it square. I don't have to hold it perfect because that's crowned. Not a lot of pressure. See, it's cutting right in the center. Just light, even pressure. Now, if it didn't have nicks in it, if I had just honed it so much where I'd honed the hollow grind out of it, then I really could grind whatever up to the edge and shive the edge and go home. But since it's got some nicks in it, I'm going to take it all the way up to the edge to take those nicks out. See, I got a little ways to go. Now the closer I get to that edge, the more chance of burning that edge that there is, because it can't dissipate that heat fast enough when it gets thin out there. Now if I had a big nick in it, instead of grinding it like this, I would blunt it first, right like that, because I'd be having to grind it so far to take that nick out that I would be more likely to burn the edge. But just with those little nicks in there, it probably won't be an issue. I can see some of those sparks coming over the top, and it shows me that I'm really close. I'm not quite there. I can still see just a little bit on the edge there that I hadn't gotten to, but I'm going to grab my square so I can check it for square. So I grab my square, and when I put it up to it, I can see that it's high on this side quite a bit. So you got to remember, when you flip it over, it's on the opposite side. I mess up with that sometimes. So I'll grind heavy on what will be my left side now, trying to square up that edge. Let's see what we got now. Okay, a little bit more to go. Just a little bit more. I've got a little crown in it right there. It's looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, I think that looks great. Okay, we'll go over to the sharpening stones now. So back here behind my bench is where I usually sharpen. It's just right behind my bench. All I have to do is just turn around. My stones are always here, ready. I've got a nice window and I've got lights right up above it. So the easier that you can make your sharpening area, the more accessible that you can make it, then the more you're going to sharpen your tools and the better everything's going to be. So what I've got is a water bath here, and the water stones stay in the water bath except for the 8,000 grit. The 8,000 grit doesn't stay in the water bath, but the 800 and the 1200 do. So I'm able to just wash them right here and hone on them. I'm going to do this on my bench just so the camera can get there better, because here you're behind me trying to watch it. So we'll turn around and set up on the bench. So I'm going to start out with my 1200 grit stone, and I've just got it on a granite block turned up on its edge to get it up high enough for me to feel comfortable with it. And I've got some sandpaper glued down right here so it grips the stone, so the stone won't move. So you can lock it in if you want with wedges and a little wooden jig. That works good too. So with the chisel, this is a chisel I've had for a long time. But if you're sharpening a chisel that you've just bought, either brand new or one you found at a junk store or something, you're going to want to flatten the back first. So you'll start out with with your 800 grit stone and work your way all the way up through your stones until you get a mirror finish on the back. And then after that, the only time you ought to be rubbing the back of the chisel on the stone would be for the 8,000 grit stone or on the 8,000 grit stone to turn the burr back. So like I said, I've just ground that, and now I'm jumping straight to the 1200 grit water stone. You want to keep it wet. The stones are fairly porous, and so they'll absorb the water. So what you want to do, one of the reasons that it's so easy to learn on this 3/4 inch chisel, especially if it's fat enough, is the bevel at 28 degrees is so long and wide that it makes it a lot easier for you to feel where that bevel is. And I prefer doing all this just freehand, because then you're not tying yourself into any jig. It's much faster, and you're much more flexible when it comes to sharpening anything. So anyway, I'm hitting almost all the way across. I'm missing that corner just a hair. I try to use the whole stone to keep from hollowing the center out, although I always hollow the center out. Okay, that's probably, oh yeah, that looks great. So I've got a nice shiny edge down here and up here with the hollow grind in the middle, and it's all the way across, so I'm ready to move to my 8,000 grit stone now. So I got the 8,000 grit stone here, and there's a couple of differences in using the a higher grit like 8,000 or up as opposed to the lower ones. One of them is, like I said earlier, you don't keep them soaked in water. You just go ahead and just add the water as you're using it. The other is they're so hard you have to work up a slurry, and you do that with this Nagura stone or Nagura stone. I don't know how you pronounce it. Maybe you all know. Okay. Now I cleaned my chisel real good a minute ago, so I wouldn't be contaminating it with that 1200 grit. Okay, now I'll take the burr. So now I've got a small burr on the back. I'll take it off, or I'll turn it back the other way. And that little wire edge will fall off. Sometimes you can see it fall off. I think it might still be there. Okay, let's see what we got here. So I test it with the edge of my fingernail. I run it across it and feel if there's any nick or any discrepancy. And then I'll check the sharpness, seeing how it grabs to the nail, right like that. And I think it's in real good shape. One of my final tests would be a piece of pine. So you can take an end-grained piece of pine, and I should probably put this in the vise. I was going to freehand it, but that's not the thing to do. That's the way you cut yourself. I'll put it in a vise and show you. Okay, so we'll see how it cuts this end grain. So when it comes out looking end grain pine, looking like it's been waxed. So the reason you use pine is because it takes the sharpest tool to cut pine, because it's so soft. It'd be like the difference between cutting slicing an apple and slicing a tomato. It takes a much sharper tool to cut a tomato. It's the same way here, and especially end grain. If the tool's not razor sharp, it'll just smash that and turn it white. And you can also see if there's any nicks in your tool, you can see the tracks that it will leave. And you can see the peelings of end grain that's pulling up. So this tool's ready to go. So we'll go to the next one.